Remix. 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 Remix.
What it do, niggas?
What's happening?
Peace and good morning.
Greetings. Welcome everybody to the Remix Morning Show, Black Liberation Media. Amber, Geechee, Lorik, and Jared here in the morning. Please do like, share, subscribe. Support the Patreon on your way in. Those seeing this later, do the same. And welcome. Cynical first up in the chat. Congratulations, you win the day's prize. How you all doing?
Tired, cooling.
I'm doing okay. I probably would be better if, someone had checked on my well-being, but nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. So.
A what holiday?
It's a meme. I've been hearing that everywhere. I do not know the meme yet.
There's this British commercial where this lady's like, nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. That's 200 pounds off for a family of 4. And it's Jet 2 is apparently like an airplane company or something. I don't know, but it's funny.
Okay.
I feel like
Brother Jamil, I just got your text. Let the chat know you got something to announce for Monday, I think, or Tuesdays on WPFW 89.3 FM, 5 to 8 a.m., Jazz and Justice, right?
Do you listen to his show every day?
I don't. No, he's on once a week, and I don't hear it as often as I would like, at least not live. And but people can go to WPFW.org and hear the replays and the archives of all the great programming.
We know Geechee just woke up because he's over there yawning. How are you, Geechee?
I'm tired. You didn't check on my well-being.
Nobody checked on me. I feel like we learned so much this week. Y'all don't care about me. Dr. Ball doesn't listen to voice messages.
Oh my Lord.
Together.
See, Amber, you didn't really want to know how I was because you was gonna turn this into
how I do it.
See what I mean? Like you asked, I'm about to tell you, and then
you fell for it. Geechee fell for it.
That.
I am, man. He set me up, bro.
And that's how I get niggas.
But it is true.
With setups.
The beauty of the text message is we don't have to get on the phone. And now everybody wants to send voice messages that you then have to listen to. Podcast. It just doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't we just call each other then?
One, I don't be in a place where I can call people all the time. And two,
but you somewhere where you can call, you can record. That's what I'm saying. You like,
I record a voice message anywhere.
And if I'm somewhere, like if I'm watching a show or if I'm in a crowd, I want to read text.
Yeah, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I get
it's kind of like punching in for talking on the phone when you're doing the voice note. Like, it does kind of.
I also don't expect people to send me a voice note back just because I send them a voice note. Like, I usually listen with my AirPods in. I don't necessarily send that person one back, but I'll listen to the one they sent and I'll reply to it. My friend sent me a voice message yesterday and I texted her back. I didn't want to do one, but if I feel like doing one, I will.
Yeah,
no, you can't change up the form. You can't change up the medium, mid-medium. If we texting, we texting.
I learned you could play the voice notes at 2 times speed, and that changed the game for me personally.
You can. I really like it.
No, like, yeah.
But I can barely keep up with Amber in real time. I don't think I can handle 2 times speed, Amber.
Oh my
God!
I don't think that fast. Laura thinks fast enough for that.
See, but I know you listen to some of these shows at like 1.5 or like 1.75 times.
Some of them. But some of them you got to slow down depending on the cadence of this person talking.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you're right. I do.
Now YouTube Premium can go up to 4 times speed, and my brain, I'm
Who's
worried.
doing that fast?
I'm worried. I mean, someone's got to try it, right?
Like,
Because then I feel like that's the equivalent of just opening a book and just turning the pages and saying
Yeah.
I'm reading it. I'm like, I'm not here. How I couldn't distill at 4 times speed. That's
No, it's
I
not
kind of want to
healthy.
try it.
I mean, you can, and then every one you listen to, like, is gonna be too slow, and you're gonna want to be. It's not good for your brain. I think 2 times is as high as it's supposed to go.
My mom said voice notes are quicker. You don't have to do all the typing. I agree. I use it this week. I usually don't actually use the voice notes a lot for professional stuff, but someone sent us some questions for an interview that they didn't show up for that they scheduled with us. And they sent me like 15 questions. So I used a little voice thing to like type out what I was saying because I was not going to type out answers for all them questions. They were like, sorry, I missed the interview I scheduled with you for our newspaper. Can I sent you 20 questions and you answered them? I was like, what?
that feels like work.
I was gonna say.
It felt like work for real. I was like, no, I'm gonna use the voice thing. Lori, I thought you were getting braids. They gone already?
Oh yeah, I took them out. Oh, they'll come back. You know, I'll switch it up.
I mean, it's been like a week.
It's been, hasn't it? Has it been a week? I think
Since
I had
last
them
Friday.
I think I had them in for a
Man, you
week.
just like me
last
for
time,
real.
yeah.
My mommy says
Yes,
that
I'm trying to say. I'm trying to catch up with
in.
you. You
My
know,
mom says I never leave my styles in long for them to settle in.
what for? They'll
I
never know
was
what
like,
they're gonna get.
I don't want to do that, and I can only do my own hair. So if I know how to do my own hair, I feel like I can change as much as I want. But when I took my braids down, I posted about it yesterday. Somebody said, "R.I.P. Rapunzel."
Wait, you do your own braids and everything like that?
Those braids I had, the ginger ones, were the first braids I haven't done myself in a while. Usually,
Oh,
all the
man.
other hairstyles I've done them myself.
How long does it take you usually?
Maybe like 6 to 8 hours.
See, Oh my God, how your shoulders not burnt out after that first, and then you gotta have the mirror back here. Hey, yeah, my
But I've
wrist
been
hurt.
doing my own hair since middle school, so I don't actually have those issues. I really don't have like
I
shoulder
see, I see.
issues or anything like that. I know how to like section it off the way that I need to for it to be more efficient. And depending on what I'm doing, if I'm not going anywhere, I'll take way longer. Or if I want to try a style, I'll just take my time doing it like over the weekend or whatever. I don't really give myself a time stamp type of thing because I kind of can do what I want schedule wise. So I usually take my time.
Geechee, I know you tried to do your hair the other day. Were you ever taught that skill? I think about that a lot because my dad knows how to braid hair, but I know that's not a skill. Boys, unfortunately, are usually passed along. Just curious.
My cousin who transitioned a while ago, when we was younger, she taught me how to do the three braid joint, and then she taught me how to paint nails. And I thought I was even the French tip thing. Is that what you put the little white thing at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so when I remember learning how to do that, I know how to braid it. But once I get to the end, I be I didn't know they're supposed to put like rubber bands and stuff on it. So actually, the other day I was doing it and I was braiding it really tight and not tight, but what I was trying to do it like really strong. And probably like the second time my hands was getting tight, I was like, I can't do this. But then I realized like, oh, I got to actually like not do it so hard. So I'm like,
Exactly.
I'll try. Jared, you're a girl dad though. You didn't have to learn for the daughters.
Oh, I was not allowed to learn. Are you kidding me? I was forbidden. There's a long line of women in this family ready to do hair properly, and then when there's not, they got the Dominican plug down the street. So it's
the Dominican plug is crazy.
So no, it was I was forbidden. If you can't do a full set,
you a nail tech too?
You a nail tech,
bro. Listen, no. I think I was cheating. I think I was, those little white things you're supposed to put on there, and then I don't think I was doing it right. But that was a long time ago, and I ain't gonna try that again. But this, I think I'm gonna get better at like this, hitting the end of this. Bam, I can do that.
Yeah, I feel like once you practice it a lot, you get used to it. But when you're doing your own hair, you also know not to start at the front, anyways. Like you're supposed to start at the back so that you don't get tired so quickly.
I didn't know that.
hands more at a lower level at first, and then it goes up. But I did try this place for the first time. It's a braid takedown bar. They have one here in Memphis. I saw it on TikTok, and honestly, I'm not gonna do shit I saw on TikTok no more after this. But the girl took the braids down super quick. Love that. And you have an option to request a quiet service. That's why I did it. I didn't want nobody talking to me. I just wanted to take my braids down, and that was great. And then she was like, "Well, did you want to add the wash?" I was like, "Yeah, I did, but there wasn't an option on the website." So she like was like, "I can add it manually." I was like, "Okay, cool, that works," because I love getting my hair washed. So she washed my hair. It felt great. Like I felt like she did a good job, bro. I left. There were so many like clumps of dirt in the middle of my head that like she got the ends and stuff, but she didn't get the like close to the scalp. And I had to go get my fucking hair washed again yesterday at an actual beauty shop because that girl sucked. And I was like, shit, I gave her a tip. I hate when this happens. But I'm gonna let her keep her tip. But I was annoyed.
Somebody in the family helped him out, Chitty Matcha, that this white newsman in Oakland, single dad with a black daughter, or his black girlfriend, somebody got involved. Unless this was DIY YouTube. Right,
they do
Kai's
have
right.
braids on YouTube.
I mean, I feel like I can braid somebody else's hair better than I can do mine because I wasn't doing any type of strategy. I started here, went over here, and over here. I'm just trying to find. So I think I could do something.
That isn't a strategy. You know, Geechee, if you go on TikTok, they have these free like braid maps available that show you if you want on this size, how many to do per row. If you want on this size, they got them for locks and stuff too.
It just quickly, everybody, at 9:00, Butch Ware is going to join us to talk about his Green Party gubernatorial campaign. And we're shortly going to talk more about the Sundiata Acoli very depressing ending, updated history on the New African prison struggle. I found the end to be very unfortunately disappointing.
But we're only supposed to be reading the first 15 pages.
I know, but I just couldn't help it. I mean, this is something that I've read several times over the years, but the ending this was unfortunately disappointing. So yeah, you're right. Maybe we can just focus on the better parts of the historical analysis. But it's just it's an unfortunate end, I think.
So glad I didn't get there.
My bad. You're right. My bad.
Spoilers.
Just foreshadowing. But yeah, I didn't mean we can continue. I just want to let folks know what was on the docket for the day.
No, that's really important, especially because it's I gotta get up out of here at 9 o'clock.
Jared Spoiler Ball, that's his name.
For Big Dolph coming through. So I dropped.
Wait, who's coming through?
I said Big Dolph.
Randolph?
Rudolph.
Oh, I'm about to say Big Dolph. What Dolph you talking?
Right, what Dolph you mean?
He calls himself Butch. I think Dolph was definitely the move, though. Y'all could pass that along.
It's not.
Dolph isn't the move. I thought we was onto something there for a second.
We already have a young Dolph.
RP, that's what I'm saying. How you gonna name yourself after, I'm just playing. I don't know where he got that nickname.
He was talking about Amber when he said she liked to argue, so I sent her ass to law school. He was talking about Amber. Dolph.
Probably.
That's a great line. RP. I dropped some info in the chat from last time, just who is Sundiata Acoli. And y'all were picking up from an updated history of the New African prison struggle. We've been reading that. So for anyone who's not familiar, Sundiata Acoli is a New African prisoner of war and former member of the Black Liberation Army and Black Panther Party. This is an older publication, but he was currently serving a life sentence with 30 additional years to run consecutively. He grew up in the town of Vernon, Texas during the 30s and 40s, worked in the fields. In 1956, he graduated from a Texas college with a degree in mathematics. He became a computer programmer for NASA in its earliest days in California, then moved to New York City, where he worked in the computer field for the next 13 years. He was propelled into political activism by the murder of 3 civil rights workers, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, in Mississippi in the summer of 1964. Sundiata read a newspaper article which suggested that the murder of 3 students might frighten off volunteers in the campaign against Jim Crow in Mississippi. Sundiata immediately called up to volunteer, bought himself a plane ticket, and left for Mississippi. That fall, he returned to his New York computer job, but his life now belonged to the Black liberation struggle. Anyone want to pick up?
We can't even see that.
Oh, all right. Boom, boom. And then to the right. And then we were up a little bit. Up.
Did it start in the fall of 68?
Yeah.
Okay, I can go. I'm looking on the other page. In the fall of 1968, Sundiata joined the Black Panther Party, where he served as the financial officer within months of joining the BPP. On April 2nd, 1969, Sundiata was arrested to stand trial in the Panther 21 case. He, along with 20 other members of the Black Panther Party, were accused of plotting to blow up several department stores and the New York Botanical Gardens. He was held in jail without bail and on trial for 2 years before being acquitted, along with all other defendants, by a jury deliberating less than 2 hours. After the Panther 21s were released, the FBI and police's murderous harassment and disruption continued. Most of us returned to the community and to the BPP, but by then, COINTELPRO had taken its toll. The Black Panther Party was rife with dissension, both internal and external. The internal strife, division, intrigue, and paranoia had become so ingrained that eventually most members drifted or were driven away. Some continued the struggle on other fronts, and some basically cooled out altogether.
Jared.
Yeah, Sundiata associated himself with those like Assata Shakur, who believed that organizing small armed underground strike teams was the best way to continue resistance. They formed the clandestine organization known as the Black Liberation Army. In May 1973, while driving the New Jersey Turnpike, he and his comrades were ambushed by New Jersey state troopers. One companion, Zaid Shakur, was killed, and another companion, Assata Shakur, was wounded and captured. One state trooper was killed and another wounded, and Sundiata was captured days later. Sundiata was denied medical care, newspapers, and kept in isolation from everyone but his lawyer. Bright lights were kept turned on in his cell 24 hours per day. His food was restricted. State troopers paraded in front of his cell, harassing and threatening him. Sundiata's trial was a farce wrapped in manufactured hysteria. At the end, the judge stated that Sundiata was an avowed revolutionary and sentenced him to life in prison and then to 30 more years to be served consecutively. No credible evidence ever linked Sundiata to the killing of the state trooper. Are we finishing?
Yeah, we could just finish those 2 paragraphs, I think, if Amber, you wanted to.
Lord want me to read so bad.
I
Soon
sure do.
after it's okay. Soon after Sundiata's arrival in the antiquated Trenton State Prison, the warden there created a new management control unit, MCU, for Sundiata and 50 other politically oriented prisoners. His isolation cell was smaller than the SPCA's recommended space for caging a German Shepherd. Sundiata developed tuberculosis. After 5 years, Sundiata was transferred to the federal penitentiary at Marion, a special facility for punishing and isolating political prisoners. Sundiata and the other prisoners at Marion were locked down for 22 to 23 hours per day. Sometimes they were shackled, spread-eagled on their bunks. Drinking water at Marion came in from a federal toxic waste dump, and prisoners developed skin rashes and tumors.
On November 2nd, sorry, I was trying to close it because I think that last paragraph was
All
important.
right, my bad.
No, I think the last one, just so people know who this is, who have it. So on November 2nd, 1979, Sundiata's comrade and co-defendant Assata Shakur was liberated from the women's prison in Clinton, New Jersey by a multinational underground unit. Assata made her way to exile in Cuba. And so there's more about Sundiata and updates on where he's been. And again, this piece that we're reading was republished in 1998, I want to say. So definitely continue reading who is Sundiata Acoli so you can get more background. And thanks for posting that up, Jared.
Yeah.
All right, y'all ready to get started?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So for those who haven't read, this is available online. You just Google an updated history of the New African prison struggle, and it comes up. There was also an earlier one, a brief history of the New African prison struggle, that's available in the Freedom Archives, I believe, if you want to go there. Peace to those in the chat just popping up this morning. Good morning.
Now Ralph saying I'm here now. Y'all may start the show. Please be for real.
Of
Only I can
course.
say stuff like that.
All right. How are we proceeding?
Yeah.
Larg is supposed to lead the thing. We're reading.
Oh
it.
yeah, I thought. My bad. I thought we were pulling up the document from last time.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
No, that's on me. I'll be more clear.
I got it here.
Do y'all
You
see
got
what
it?
happens when I don't lead the show?
You're right.
I'm telling you.
You're right. I'm new. I'm not.
Yeah, we actually get to it into some shit.
Are we?
Not-
Because I
So
had you was
again-
living your whole childhood learning how to paint nails a second ago. But alrighty. I feel like that was getting into some shit. But okay.
No, Geechee was on to something revolutionary. We actually, by organizing spot, have a place called Daddy's Nails, and it's a elder black man who cooks conch, and he does nails and hair. So
Damn.
everything I was saying, he should be my teacher. I actually got to go find him. That's what I'm thinking about it. Okay. So we talked about this last time. I think to what the Geechee you missed last session, but we were around the end of page 4. And so just how this was outlined, again, talking about Dr. Sundiata. I'm gonna keep doing that, y'all. I talk about Dr. Sundiata too much. Talking about Sundiata Acoli, who wrote this thing like a doctor, like a PhD in history, like our Dr. Sundiata Chajua. He goes through each of these periods, and we already started talking about the link to imperialism, which is that for Sundiata Acoli, the African prison struggle begins behind the walls of medieval pens in Africa. And so he really does this long, but very short, actually accessible trek through each of these eras. And so I think we were going to try and talk through a few of those. And it starts with the 16th century through the Civil War. And I think we made our way down, Jared, if you keep going. We talked a bit about the origins, post-Civil War to the 20th century. And then I think we were around here, right? The 20th century through World War II. So we wanted to just pick up with the prison population. He's also tracking percentage-wise how it's growing. So if we remember, he says that at the beginning there were no Black people in prison, that our prison started in the plantation, workhouses and things of that nature. And so he says basically all Black people were in one type of prison, which is the plantation. So they didn't really have a need, except for once they started doing slave catching, to have prisons and jails for anyone but white people. And now in 1910 and 1950, it's looking like immediately Black people are now up to a quarter or higher of the prison population in the US.
So just quickly, my youngest and I watched Shawshank Redemption for her first time the other day. And one of the things that she brought up during the viewing was, she said, other than Morgan Freeman and a few other scattered Black faces, the prison was very white. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, because we have just been recently talking about Sundiata Acoli and his history, there is some justification for the filmic depiction of 1940s Maine as being Maine prisons as being still largely white. And I said, because they were still making that transition from the plantation to convict leasing and all of that, and hadn't quite made the full transfer yet. So I think I was almost right, given his time frame there from 1910 to 1950, because Andy Dufresne gets locked up in 1940 something. So, but the other thing, of course, that I appreciated that he does here is that he makes this point about how many of us are conditioned to be situated to understanding the prison experience. And for those like of my generation, you know, series like Oz and you know, American, what was it, American Me, or what, you know, all those films, like all these films that we kind of grew up on. And I'm skipping a bunch, obviously, but that do this. This is what in many ways introduces us. And then, of course, it's always in the context, as was Shawshank, even, of the prison is a natural and rightful place to be, even if it's imperfectly run, even if there are abuses that take place. We need to have prisons to lock people up. And you know, and then of course that underlying piece of, well, ultimately many of them deserve to be treated like this because of what they are accused of having done. So I just appreciated that this was included in something like this.
Yeah, all this also showed me was that I definitely don't be watching prison movies or movies that much in general. But like all the stuff he's mentioning in there, I've never seen them in my life. And I was like, that's because I don't be watching a lot of movies.
And I had even seen some of these, like the Defiant Ones, Cool Hand Luke. I don't think I saw this Escape from the Chain Gang, but
So is that a typo? Because I was going to ask, is it Cool Hand Lake or Cool Hand Luke?
It should be Cool Hand Luke. That is a typo.
That's why I have.
You know what? And I didn't even read Lake until just now, so my mind corrected it for me. But yeah, it's supposed to be Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah, I know the Defiant Ones only because of Sidney Poitier. Shout out the great Black Bahamian. So I know that history, but I've never seen it. And I do think what I like about this is it shows that thing that we know, which is that the prison is a reflection of the outside world, and the outside world reflects the prison. They're in like a dialectic. So if you're assuming that the outside world lives in this fantasy, you know, where things are integrated, then naturally maybe you think about that like the prisons. But if you think historically, since outside world was segregated, he makes it clear that U.S. prisons were segregated too, which was really helpful to think about.
Yeah.
I also noticed he mentions the Angola camps were separated, they were segregated, and then only in the women's camp were whites and colors mixed. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting just because of the history of repression we study. And Claudia Jones, who was locked up around this era, was originally like segregated from even the women, I believe. I think she was put with other men and not allowed to be around her white comrade, who was a woman in prison, but also just like not allowed to be around a certain segment of the population.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting who they choose to segregate versus who they didn't.
Yep. Anything else we see from this section?
I think initially what I started thinking about was along with Jared was talking about how media start to like orientate Black folks into accepting just the role of the police, and then I started thinking about like the Black cops. When the first Black cop I probably saw was, and I put him in my children's books, ironically, Officer Caldwell, coming up in high school. And actually one Black cop that I knew, he quit. He quit and he said how much he hated it, but Officer Caldwell ended up moving in the ranks, and now he's even still known in my hometown. But it just made me think of this experience of how I kind of analyze it, where we left a football game, and one of my and this was in high school, one of my friends was driving with the lights off, and people kept flashing us, and then we got pulled over, and at the time I had a beeper, green ass beeper, and I dropped my beeper, and I was like reaching for my beeper, and like he like knocked on the window. He said, "Listen, if I didn't know who this car was, I would have light this car up." And I'm like, at the time I'm interpreting is that, oh, like, see, this is what it means to have police that you know live in your community, and not really think about the higher level of just the conflict or the contradiction of it in general. I was just like, that's what you can sell as, like, see, you know, you have this black cop or whatever, and just so, yeah, just like legitimizing police and prisons. That's kind of some of the things I was thinking about, the media, but also like the advent of a lot more Black cops being in smaller and bigger cities or communities, and how that was kind of also playing a role, because now you got an uncle or a cousin or a brother who's a cop, and you're much more saying, well, maybe they're doing this particular thing.
hmm And they're never doing the right thing. That's so funny you mentioned the lights on thing because if the lights aren't automatic, I will forget to turn them on all the time. And I had a rental one time, and I had a rental car one time, and people were flashing at me for like an hour. I don't understand what they were flashing at me for. It's because the lights weren't on, and I was like, "That's crazy."
Ah,
I don't even know how to turn the lights on. I had to pull over at a gas station and have somebody show me because it was a rental car. It wasn't my car, so I didn't know how to turn them on. And I was like, "This is very much a I'm just a girl moment."
you wait. So how long was you said? How long was it before you noticed the lights were off?
Probably like an hour. Also, I just want to say I could see. So I honestly didn't realize when they were flashing at me, that's what it meant. Cause I
Wait, you
could see.
couldn't see. You had your lights off and you driving.
No,
This
I
is
said I can see. I could see.
oh
So it
oh
wasn't a
oh.
big deal to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
copy.
So for folks who are in the chat who are asking, yes, this latch is my alarm ringtone. I forgot to turn it off. Sorry.
Um, I know
Also,
you.
people in the chat said, can you let them know how to find your children's book?
Ooh,
Well,
yes, possible plug.
currently is captured by Amazon, so I don't even want to tell people to go to Amazon and buy it. But the self-publishing company that I publish with, Amazon bought them, and so we're
What's it
facing
Oh, they
called?
really did get captured.
And
huh?
what's it called for the people?
Raising Me is the first one, and then actually there's another one coming out too that we finish. Jared got one of my illustrators to do his artwork, so I'm joking.
Hmm.
And the author name is Geechee.
Yeah,
Saw
Yeah.
Geechee in the chat who asked.
You said I
Um,
got one of my illustrators.
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
It was definitely a joke. We see
No,
you
Nah,
though.
but no, we
no, I
you're-
get it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted to make sure I heard correctly.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was funny.
I'm
Yeah,
still
we
plugging them at the Buying Power Zine, and so any illustrators out there who think they want to do that, I think someone should make Jared's argument into a nice little infographic you can share around with some pictures, a little flow chart, just planting that seed out there.
Hey, I
Um,
appreciate that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, that would be
and I know
dope.
you came here. I don't know if this was an intentional pause, but it is really important. For Black Men Build in Black August, we're reading Revolutionary Suicide by Huey Newton, and one of the things we talked about is like people forgetting how much of an elder he is or ancestor now, but that he grew up in the 40s.
Who?
So we talked about the Great Migration with Huey P. Newton and how it's affecting all these families, particularly the Panther families. Asada talks about going back up from being up north, but going to the south for her family during the summer and springs and things like that. So like this era of the Great Migration and labor struggle and racial terror is huge. And I like how Sundiata Acoli is really clear here and linking that to what I've heard called the proletarianization of Black people in this period. But as we're moving from rural to urban settings, turning us into wage workers, filing in the factories, being soldiers in the military and things like that. So the article really makes it clear here that as monopoly capitalism's on the rise, we start seeing prison labor being tied in with proletarianized labor or things like working for a canal company, working for coal mines and railway companies. So this idea of just turning prison labor into slave labor, which was kind of already there from the inception when we read about it before. But I think like this clear, like we lock you up and then lease you to one of these companies sort of situation is a new development. It's like qualitative change that Acoli's noting.
He
Yeah.
also at some point. Sorry, go ahead, Amber.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
He also later, I can't remember where it is, but he also at some point talks about the emergence of the Crips and Bloods, and which is also connected to the Great Migration and a need to
Oh, really? How?
self-protect.
Tell us more.
I mean, everybody, the Black families moving from the South out to California with the idea that they were escaping the nightmare, and the nightmare was there waiting. So, community revolution in progress is the original name for Crips, something like that. And they were there to protect the community. And then obviously, and he describes, forget the details, but he describes how that ends up descending into where things end up. But where today apparently members can't wait to go on No Jumper and all those other podcasts and Vlad and snitch on each other. So it's
Dumb as
wild.
hell.
It's a wild situation. So yeah, but anyway, yeah.
I was going to ask, for those who maybe are more familiar with the history of the Great Migration, I know there are waves and things. I know people discuss, like, even after the initial wave more. Is George Jackson's family, which is from Chicago, moving to like the West Coast, considered a Great Migration? I'm not sure if that was part of it, because I know his family was drawn in there by like a lot of Black families from Chicago. So I'm curious if anyone knows about that. But yeah,
That's a good question.
The one part that I really liked about it is how he went into detail about the type of like different like work they were doing, the contracts and stuff. Because I talk to folks here all the time about how the railroads the railroads are built by either people in slavery or people in prison. Like these weren't like built by workers who were being paid fair wages. Because we've been arguing with our city council about the way the railroads aren't taken care of here. Like they're the same as when they were built. And she's always, one of the councilors, I was like, we can't do anything because it's federal property. I was like, they didn't give a fuck about that when they had state prisoners out here building the shit. So, and then she looked at me crazy. I forgot she's white, so she don't know that part. So I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this was built by people in prison. And so then she was like, well, I didn't know that. And then she felt all guilty. So then she was like, well, I'll try to see what I can find out.
Oh, okay, I'm glad that worked for her. I saw earlier they even said Florida, the majority of prisoners were doing turpentine farming, and so I just think, since we've been talking about imperialism, how that's tied to this struggle, and then immigration struggles and things like that. That's a big thing. I know we've been talking about ICE and immigration, and some of our folks missing that connection, but those are the jobs, right? Like that's what the African American workforce was doing, was working turpentine farms under convict leasing. So those are the jobs they're bringing in these quote unquote illegal immigrants to now do. So again, just for Black people to understand our role in the labor force, like that is the role that now people are being brought into this country to do. And Black people aren't going to do these jobs because, as Jared points out, like we've done them already. We struggled through that. A lot of us has recognized like that killing yourself 60 hours a week in the turpentine fields is not a way to progress or, you know, build generational wealth, but even survive as a family in America.
It's $200 off for a family of 4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That Just a Holiday commercial is actually insane, the way that it's like programmed into people's brains. When I was, so this ghetto population explosion thing, I just want to clarify, like ghetto, he just means like poor communities, poor Black communities, right?
Yeah, in urban centers,
yeah.
particularly. Yeah. Because we know ghettos, at least the term, I believe, comes from the Nazis in Germany as it was applied. But
can you explain what a turpentine farm is for people in the chat?
Yeah, turpentine is like you get it from pine wood, I'm pretty sure, and it's got a bunch of uses, but I think it's like a solvent or something like that. I'm not entirely. It's like, I know it's in paint as well, and it's used in the chemical industry like a lot. But that's what I can remember off the top. I'm gonna Google it. Hold on for people to know.
So for Soul Life, they said that's real and not a term. You're talking about ghettos, right?
Yes. The term ghetto emerging from the Holocaust and the concentration camps that they organized Jews into, particularly like the neighborhoods where they weren't allowed to leave and where resources are limited and that kind of thing. So the ghetto practice, the practice of ghettoization, comes from European fascists. But again, the Nazis learned from looking at how the U.S. was doing Jim Crow segregation and Native American genocide right here. So it's this, concentration camp, ghetto, reservation, what they did to the Japanese for internment camps, all the fancy names they have are all ghetto, essentially, or ghetto.
So my people used the turpentine a lot in Alvin, South Carolina, and it was around topical applications of like ailments, but also cleaning. So I used to, as you was talking about turpentine farms, all I could do is smell the turpentine, which has a very distinct smell.
What does it smell like?
I can't explain other than saying turpentine. It's
Yeah, I know the
yeah.
smell, but I can't describe it either.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
This
very
is not
chemical.
helpful, Geechee.
Well,
It's
that's my
very
point.
chemical, if that
That's my
helps you.
point. Like if I hear something, if I smell something, I'm gonna say it smell like turpentine before I say turpentine smell like it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just know paints, like when I think of paints and things, but I do know it comes from like pine and things. So you have, there you go, Stono. Thank you. Pine sap. So you have to deal with, pine plants, and that's its own challenge. But like building the actual productive forces, which we know the capitalists have now taken and put in the global south everywhere. So that's the American jobs, quote unquote, that are never coming back. But back in the day, it looks like we were leading turpentine industry in Florida. I'd be curious how that looks now, because I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Okay. So so you're saying, Amber, about the ghetto population explosion. So we see that new Africans are being driven out of the South, off our own land, through racial terrorism, apartheid, and then, as we talked about with Black Myths podcast and the myth of Black Wall Street, government policy, which is put in interstates through your neighborhood and absolutely destroying it. So even that element is what's causing the ghetto population explosion. And then we're seeing shortly after drug influx, which I appreciate Dr. Sundiata. I mean, he's a doctor to me, but Sundiata Acoli for outlining in the drug influx section. If we scroll right down.
The part you said about the interstates running straight through communities, I had never seen how they do that in other places because until I got older and started traveling. But I feel like you can really see the way that people weaponize like urban planning stuff to run interstates through communities, like in New Orleans and in Chicago. And there was supposed to be a similar plan here in Memphis, but there was actually some environmentalists that sued, like a federal lawsuit, to stop them from building the interstate to run through like a majority Black neighborhood in Overton Park. And it was one of the cases I studied in undergrad for administrative law. And I thought it was so interesting because the case really only succeeded because it was mainly white environmentalists who were pushing back against it. And they did include the part about it going through a Black community, like majority Black area in Memphis, but it was heavily focused on the park. And I think that's the only reason why they didn't do it.
Amber, I just want to hold on that because it's such an important lesson. One about how our struggle is joined to the Native American struggle, but also I think ADOS, their strategy for change is a dead end. So same thing with the Dakota Access Pipeline, which we know Obama was not helpful in that struggle at all. Apparently, they were looking at the neighborhoods originally, the engineers, and it was going through, I think, Bismarck, which was a 80% white area. And they were like, well, can't have that. And then they went right through a native reservation and violated the treaty laws, the things that ADOS thinks they're going to get from the U.S. state. And it was the U.S. Army Survey Corps that did the assessment that said we should put it through the native community instead of the white community. So just always things to remember.
Yeah, and know that they'll always pick up a Black or Native community over the white folks every single time, because the Byhalia pipeline they were supposed to build here in Memphis that we had this major campaign against, it actually would have cut 60 miles off the pipeline to run it through the white neighborhoods, like to run it through Cordova and Collierville. But because they refused to do that, they were spending extra money, like millions, to try to run it through a Black neighborhood because it'll have to go longer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's just insane. Y'all will go to any end to poison Black people.
Yep. Speaking of that, that's perfect for this thing on drug influx. This is a series called Eyes Wide Open, a history of the CIA, that's on YouTube. I think we've talked about it in these streets a few times. Very, very valuable. But I had seen some of the information laid out there already by Sundiata Acoli here, which is talking about how the U.S. state after World War I and II was turning the other way, essentially, with mafia fascists and letting them pump drugs into Black communities. So this was early, like in World War I, because I know a lot of people know the crack story, Gary Webb. They drove, CIA dropped crack in our communities in the 80s, but this is happening like in the early 20th century, like World War I era, and World War II. So I really appreciated that analysis here too.
I haven't really followed up on the details, so all I can say is that it for me makes a very compelling argument. But in John Potash's work on drugs as weapons against us, not only does he go through some of this and related history, but in talking about the importance of the illicit drug trade to the American economy is something that is often misunderstood. The trillions of dollars being laundered through all the existing banks and existing financial institutions that he makes, again, a compelling argument is really the undergirding backbone of this economy, much more than we realize, certainly much more than many of the dominant areas of sectors of the economy and so on and so forth. So that there's that, in addition to the colonial suppression of indigenous and African populations, it's just it's itself the foundation of this country's economy. It's still playing out that way through the illicit drug trade, according to his argument and research. It's again a fascinating and compelling argument, but something we should all probably follow up on at some point.
Yeah, didn't they have up to a quarter of the Chinese population hooked on opium through British imperialism? Like it's a very
for the opium wars,
yeah. So and that wasn't
absolutely
much far away from this time-wise. For folks joining the chat, it's updated history of the New African prison struggle by Sundiata Acoli, and I think I saw peace Asa, peace Nine, what's up? And I think I saw somebody in the chat, Robin C, I think asked a good question. Serious question, chat. One, how would you describe Black labor? Is it important to differentiate Black labor in America between Black Americans versus Black immigrants? I'm curious how y'all would answer that question.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Serious question. How would you describe Black labor? Is it important to differentiate Black labor in America between Black Americans and Black immigrants? I do think that there is some value in that. And this is where, again, the reverse hashtag community is taking some very important basic realities and then turning their analysis into something rightward and upside down. There is a class difference between diaspora Africans who migrate there and who are given certain opportunities or who enter the economy from a different starting point than most Black Americans. So there is value in I think distinguishing that, in the same way I would argue that there's value in distinguishing calling out class distinctions within the Black community just in general, to say that there is an intent to, within the colony, create the national bourgeoisie. And I think that's the better way, even by extension to the diaspora, to understand and analyze those differences. It's also, I think, important, given what we're reading here, to analyze those differences in the context of what's producing the conditions that has those migrants coming here in the first place, and in what circumstances they come. That is itself connected to a global imperial colonial history and relationship that creates, even in the diaspora and in colonies around the world, the similar national bourgeoisie, class distinction, and differences in access and opportunity. So ultimately, I think, if the purpose is to understand how all of us are being manipulated and abused and exploited and then pitted against one another, that is where I think there's a value in drawing out the distinctions. And just in terms of, and lastly, I'm sorry for this, but just an objective analysis, it's always of value to look at the details of what's happening to various groups within the world. I would never suggest that we only look at Black America's experience as the singular, sole experience, and then assume that every dark-skinned figure that shows up in this country is going to be treated exactly the same way. The point, though, is still to understand where those histories originate, how we are created and encouraged into disunity, and then to again perform an analysis along the lines that we often see around here, as opposed to having that turn into something where we are side up exclusively with the colonizer to say, let me get a little bit more than my fellow competitor over it. Like, so yes, the short answer is yes. And then we just need the politically educated frame on it.
I'm glad you mentioned the access part, because I think that's one of the parts of the argument I'm hearing from other folks as well, Jared, around like immigrants coming here. And I was like, why is it that we're automatically questioning why they are getting like these different resources and not questioning why when African people come here, they aren't getting the same things, or questioning the smaller number of them that are coming here because they don't even know about the resources they could get. Because when I was in Ghana, that was one of the things they talked about, is like how long it takes them to even send one person here versus the amount of like other folks in Venezuela or in Mexico who are closer to the United States, for one, which I also think is a part of it, and two, have more access because they're able to get more people here. When you consider like someone in Africa or like in the diaspora in general, like the access of them getting here is way, way different. And the journey is way more because it's so much farther away.
Well, yes and no. See, and this would require levels of above me in terms of the details, but part of it is also not just that Mexico is closer, but that Mexico makes deals with the United States to limit legal immigration, almost forcing the wave of so-called illegal immigration to actually have to take longer treks to get from A to B, and to go through all like through the horrific treks through the Darien Pass and all of that in Panama and all that to get, so people are being forced from other parts of Central and South America to go all over those parts, those continents, to get into the United States based on deals being made by those governments with the United States to say, we want X amount to come in and X amount not, knowing full well that that's going to create X amount of so-called illegal, and also allow for what we ultimately, I think, should be the focus, is those white elites doing all the hiring to determine what benefits them in terms of having cheaper labor, so on and so forth. And then there's also, in terms of the continent of Africa, this whole issue of selected brain drain. So it's, it's like there's this attempt to siphon off those who have already accessed the best of the colonizer offers the continent in terms of colonial education and access, experience, etc., and then says we want them to come over here and be given certain levels of opportunity that we're not going to give Black Americans and many other groups as well. So somewhere in there is something better than what I did with that. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, because I was
going
going to say, you kind of said partially what I was saying, but I see what you were trying to do there. I see what you were trying to achieve.
Of course. Sorry, Amber.
Jared, wasn't there? I don't know. I think you and some other people uncovered the I guess the contradiction of the modern minority argument, where each group, the wealth was still held in the top 10% of that group. So in the U.S., even if you look at the model minority, the Chinese, blah blah blah, like majority of the people,
it was
over
basically
there,
the same. Yeah, it's like every community, like obviously the pool of wealth they have is different, but within that pool, it's like everybody's group has like the top 20% of that group has like 90% of the wealth or something like that. But it's pretty much consistent across all those groups. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're immigrating into capitalism. Like they're not, running from it. That's the rules of the game.
You're not
I'm
going
glad.
to Cuba.
Right. I'm glad we could just bring that out. I know we got a limited time before the guest joins, but as we keep scrolling, one thing that is sticking out to me after what we just talked about, then again, is like this is a U.S. empire, so it's always expanding and changing. And so the thing I always found a little interesting about some of these arguments about our ancestry and even Black labor history, because all you described, I was like, yeah, that's just good labor history, though. I have no problem with that, right? The history of the Upper Guinea Coast, the history of the Guyanese working people, like this is Black Marxist tradition, is looking at our people's labor over time. But you have to then actually look at it and see that they took 40,000 Negroes from Atlanta and dropped them in Panama. So that's always been my whole thing about like claims to how can we track our enslavement? Someone could have decided, like, at any point in your ancestry to send you off to some plantation in Barbados and you were out of here. And there goes your family lineage, ADOS, FBA. Like, so that's the other thing. He's talking about.
I'm gonna say, I feel like that's why I feel like the ADOS thing isn't realistic.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of reasons why, but that's one of them. Like the U.S. as its construct has been constantly expanding. So in the history of Florida, for example, which I'm thinking we didn't become a state till like the 1840s or something like that, I want to say. So that means the U.S. has been around almost 100 years. They're fighting a war to get Florida, and the people on the other side of that war are us. It's us and Creek Indians who are called the Seminoles. So again,
I was just gonna say because it's the Seminoles. Oh my God!
Right. So
right here,
at what point are we American? At what point are your ancestors seen as something that was, adopted by the U.S. project to be enslaved versus just an African that could have been traded between Spanish Empire and the French and however they wanted, So
yeah, no, it's a good segue because when you were saying the part about them dropping the Black folks into Panama, I immediately was thinking about maroon communities because that's what we taught about in our Black August Freedom School that I'm teaching right now. That's what I taught about on Wednesday, and we talked about the Seminoles in Florida and how like they were there way before Florida was even Florida technically. And the guy was talking about how he had to learn all this on his own because of course they don't teach that in like the Florida school system. They teach them about somebody named John Henry or something, and that's it. They don't teach them anything else beyond that. And so I was like, that's so crazy because what you were describing, I was like, he's talking about the Seminoles, but then you said it.
My mother played me that John Henry shit when I was a kid. I was like, this is bullshit. Even as a kid, I was like, this is bullshit. Killing myself to fight a machine. You must be crazy. You must be crazy. Go ahead, have the machine. Go ahead, take your machine. Let the machine do the work. I'm not trying to do that shit to prove to you nothing. Anyway,
I also would say I've been able to really see the real-time impact of when people learn about stuff like this, because all the stuff that we've been talking about for the last week in our school, none of them have known about any of this information. Like all of this is brand new to them. And these are like, some of these people are like college educated. I had folks in there who like went to HBCUs and other stuff. They didn't learn about any of the stuff I was talking about. And I was like, that's so crazy because I'm not even talking about super like abolitionist crazy topics. I'm talking about maroon communities.
Yeah, I mean that is a super radical abolitionist. I mean that's what we're seeing here, right? That totally makes it clear that that's why, because that's a super radical project. I mean, in Florida it's banned. Like that's the other thing. There's actual bans on Black history books being taught. Now I've always
said say a ban on maroon communities.
No. Well, I mean bans as always, right? Because the Seminoles are but FSU's mascot, so they're made fun of for that reason. But yeah, I think that's what we're noticing is how a lot of these histories aren't told, or they're completely banned from people to learn. And again, because it's just obvious breaks in consciousness. Gerald Horn writes about this, but I know in the chat, Ricky's recommending Paulie Marshall's autobiography as one thing that talks about it. I also remember Sylvia Wynter. I know a lot of her writing is hard. That'll be a nice way to put it to read.
What does hard mean?
You read. You think about the readings I'm assigning you. You think Sundiata Acoli is bad? I'll assign you some Sylvia Wynter. You'll be like, yo. But she has. I
just love how like I'm teaching a class right now, and Laura's teaching a class, and then also guiding curriculum for a class. You want to be the teacher's teacher so bad, Josh.
I love it because this all sprinkles down into our community. But I know. Where was I? Sylvia Wynter has a breakdown of like history textbooks and how they teach history, and I think it's really similar to Gerald Horn's book and why it breaks from like the 1619 project. It like breaks the.
Which Gerald Horn?
Gerald Horn is a historian, writes some amazing books. Elder and the Communist Party, and the Black Panther Party as well, and he talks about how, for example, at the start of the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, she was asking which book.
Sorry,
I know who Gerald Horn is.
Sorry, we talk about him a lot here. The Counter-Revolution of 1776 is one, but all of his books basically talking about American history.
Count of Revolution is what you're saying?
The Counter-Revolution.
Revolution, my bad. The Counter-Revolution.
Write it down.
He's got so many, that's why I was like, I don't even. But he has a new history.
I'm about to read that book. That book this big.
Yeah. But I mean,
I'm
it's just
sorry.
a new
First of all,
history of.
I'm gonna read it, but by reading it, I mean I was definitely gonna get the audio book. So yeah.
Can I just Solly Walker the fourth, please, for all the time you spend around here, please understand this key important difference. You said, look, y'all, the same smoke for black people who claim Caribbean. So why the smoke for Freedmen, ADOS, FBA people, but carry on, people, good people. Solly, please understand. Your framing here is entirely wrong. We do not have smoke for the people. We have smoke for the false and fraudulent analysis. We are you. Stop saying that. This is not an attack on a different group of people. We are you. It's the analysis that is, as Bob Brown used to say, needs to be shotgunned. And I would like to drag it out behind the shed and put it out of its misery.
Yes. Aren't we all descendants of freedmen here? I think we're all.
I want to add like a quick note from like the class I've been teaching. So I will say, like from the class and like stuff we've been learning about, I think it really shows me more and more like the purpose of identifying with Pan-Africanism. When you consider like all these different like titles, the ADOS, all that stuff, I was like, I can definitely see why really all this is tied up into Pan-Africanism and the diaspora more realistically than those other things. And I can see that from the stuff we've been learning about. Like we talked about slave rebellions this week in Maroon communities. Tomorrow today's Friday. Yeah. Today we're talking about Garveyism and anti-colonial ties. And we read Message to the Grassroots by Malcolm X. So we're going to be talking about that. And Toward a Black Socialism by Walter Rodney that I'm really excited about. Quick note, I could not find that fucking book anywhere. And it just so happens that my supervisor is friends with his wife because they both Caribbean. So she on WhatsApp and had to message her to get the essay because you really can't find it anywhere. And it's crazy. And that's how I knew it's going to be really, really good.
Hey, be sure to drop that link when you have it. Also, for folks, I was being facetious a little bit about being descendants of freedmen, but my grandparents, 3 out of 4 of them are African American. I think Jared's father's
3 out of 4, so you don't have 4 Black grandparents?
I know I'm part tether. Sorry, y'all. Bahamian through my grandfather. But as Moose is pointing out in the chat, like again, that doesn't make no sense if you know Florida history. Like the first generations of Black Floridians in Miami, in addition to Afro-Americans, were Bahamians who built the damn infrastructure.
I would include Bahamians in 4 Black grandparents.
I mean, but hey, again, like, hey, I don't make the rules.
But clearly, my point isn't about accepting the label. It's the point is the label falsely disaggregates people.
Correct.
And that's the point I'm getting at. That I'm not saying that we are you by saying I accept that label. I'm saying that label is part of the fraudulent analysis that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Absolutely.
And all the African. Why I don't like labels. I just want to add that part.
Well, I think all the Africans being related, as you said, for Pan-Africanism is what's super important. So I know, Horn's book talks about, I think Moose just said in the chat, okay, cool. Yeah, Florida, some of the Black people who were in Florida had cousins in Cuba. Like it would go back and forth. And again, the point I was making about Horn earlier, I got a little lost on it, but he talks about how at the start of the Revolutionary War, the so-called Revolutionary War for U.S. independence, the majority of Africans sided with the British. And so right there, if you are teaching U.S. history to all students in the American Empire, right, where do you start? Because if you're talking to a Black student, then to them, the Revolutionary War is what, right? Because the majority of your people, your ancestors would have been fighting on the other side. And so it fundamentally breaks how you teach American history, which is written for settlers, and now this kind of liberal settler nation of immigrants narrative that we have going on. And so I really think all of that breaks when we have our history of labor, correct, Pan-Africanism. Somebody talked about why, again, like what the bans on history and why they would do it. So if you knew your great grandma was working in the turpentine farms in Florida, for example, and then you've been in Florida for many generations, immediately after that, you might then be able to make a connection to those Haitian families that have migrated over here. And so if a Haitian family got their uncle who's working in the turpentine farms, you can be like, oh, well, that's that history that's immediately connected. And obviously that's a threat to U.S. empire. And the education system.
I just want to add, to ignore those comments that were on the screen, there was like this Norton protection thing that keeps popping on my computer, and it popped up and I was trying to click it off and I clicked the comments on mistake. So ignore those. I was not trying to put your comments up there. I also can't figure out how to get this fucking thing off my computer. But anyway, thank you for going through this, Josh. I know we didn't get through like the whole first 15 pages, but we can still go through it next Friday. I also want to say the book is on Audible, and I'm probably going to use my little credits my friend gifted me to get it. So
Which book?
It's 12 hours long. The counter revolution of 1776.
Oh yeah, great book. Yeah,
That's the one
definitely.
you were talking about, or no?
That is the one. He also has African Americans in the New History of the USA. I haven't seen that one, but that's what the one Geechi's saying is this big. That's kind of a lot of
I'll
his
add
book.
that. That's fine. I think it's crazy to think I wouldn't read a big book.
Oh, I didn't think that some of his books
Oh, not you,
are
Geechee
real.
Tuesday. Geechee
Oh
Tuesday.
yeah, they long. He's got a team. There's no way he's doing this solo, by the way, y'all. So y'all know how academia works. He got to have a team. There's no way. He's a gifted man, but we got to be realistic, y'all. So some of us know.
Not ghostwriters.
Now, I didn't say ghostwriter. Hey, all I said was a team. I said a team.
Not.
Somebody gotta be doing some extra research for him.
Someone got to be pulling those footnotes and citations, bro.
I hope so. Just selfishly for my own ego. I hope so. I mean, I hate that one man is just all out there just doing all of that.
I mean, maybe, and if he's built different, cool. We just know that's not a model that most of us could ever follow. So we got to build models people can replicate. That's not a. Musa says he does it solo outside of a research assistant.
That's gangster.
All right. Okay.
He
has multiple. Okay, never mind. He has.
Either way, honestly, to me, it really either way, even with the assistance, it's still a gargantuan task.
Oh, of course.
Put it all, so salute, and to the discipline and the skill. Because I don't find his writing difficult. There's or displeasurable or unpleasurable, whatever the word would be. Like, I enjoy his writing. I see it. Yes, our guest is here. My bad, I missed that. Sorry, I didn't hear the pop up. The amount of the writing is just bananas. So, but
I also have a theory that people who are writing for a living usually can do all of that anyways because they're doing it for a living, so they have nothing else to do.
Huh. He does a lot. He does the horn report. Hey, man, that's so salute, Gerald Horn, and thanks for letting me chill with y'all. We can definitely pick up. Just bring me back anytime. I love doing this during Black August. Next week. All right, I'll be back next week. So thanks for having me.
You gotta come back next week and finish it. I also feel like this is well timed to like correlate with the Black August Freedom School. So the topics we're talking about in here keep coming up in our school. So we should finish it.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted. I'm glad. All right, y'all. Thanks for having
me. All right,
me.
we're going to be back in just a second here on the Remix Morning Show with much more and our special guests. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Thanks again, Lork. Back in a second. More Remix. All right, everybody, back here at the Remix Morning Show, Black Liberation Media, Amber, Geechee, and Jared. We are about to be joined by Dr. Butch Ware, who, among many other things, is running for governor of California on the Green Party ticket. He is a professor of Africana Studies as well, with a focus on Islam and Africa, and he's all set. So welcome to the show, Professor Ware. Good morning. Peace.
Peace and power to y'all. Long overdue. Glad I could make it in. It's a little early out here, but good to be joining y'all.
No, we appreciate it.
Oh, is it 6 a.m. there?
Yeah, it's 6.
Mm-hmm. And see, now I want y'all to understand how I feel when I have to get up at 7 a.m. for the show. And you're like, this is
again, the question to the guest is just a prelude to picking up Amber. I love it.
No, I just want to point out that I don't like how early it is. Also, is that a Fern Adinkra symbol?
Yeah.
Jinyami.
That's my favorite one.
That's
all I want to say is my favorite one.
I'll shout out my plug. So this is from Afrocentric Network on the West End in Atlanta. My aunt runs a store as a general manager there, so she keeps me laced. We'll literally just FaceTime, walking through the stacks, and I'm like, that's the one.
Oh, that must be nice.
So first of all, though, let's get something out of the let's situate this properly.
Okay.
You are a global African and a global African thinker, but let's get this thing straight. please say what you need to say about the haters of the best pocket in human history that emanates out of what has been called this country's nation's capital, but is really the African community of Washington, D.C. that has produced this phenomenal, essential, game-changing, universal pocket of go-go that I know you have an appreciation for. So before we get to the bio and all that other stuff into the
I thought that
serious
was a serious
discussion,
question.
no. We have to get this. This has to be dealt with.
We'll put it officially on the record. The first thing that I'm gonna say, is sardines, hey, and pork and beans. Come on. So listen. So I grew up in DC. My grandfather had a locksmith shop on 12th and H. My father was a musician. He was a drummer. He was playing live in clubs in DC from the time he was 15 years old. I learned, the drums sitting on his knee. He also played bass. And so, yeah, I grew up, surrounded by that DC music. For the record, Junkyard is my favorite go-go band of all time. Probably to this day, every time I'm at the gym, I will be bumping Rough It Off, like to this day.
And they're still doing it. Nucci's Front Porch. People Google it, watch it. They're still rocking.
And one of my closest friends from undergrad when I went to GW, Martin Proctor. He's also a DC transplant out here on the West Coast. He's based in LA. They started up something called West Side Go-Go. So they do go-go shows in LA about monthly. So yeah, what and as a historian, as a Pan-Africanist, as a musician myself, because I ended up coming back to music. I had a demo tape as an MC when I was 19. I ended up coming back to music during quarantine time. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, so I ended up coming back to produce music during quarantine with a Muslim hip hop collective. So we called ourselves Slum Prophecy. So we ended up releasing like 4 albums. So as a musician, as a historian, as a Pan-Africanist, trying to figure out how go-go music doesn't become, universal, how, like hip hop does what it does, reggaeton does what it does, and go-go remains isolated, essentially as a DC Maryland phenomenon. I still can't quite wrap my head around. I guess maybe it wasn't as easy to commercially exploit and to commoditize.
And people know how to gatekeep.
It's too revolutionary.
Because niggas don't gatekeep no more. I said
we're gonna say that. We're just gonna say it's too revolutionary and leave it at that. But yeah, so yeah, I was watching your show the other day and somebody was hating on the go-go off the top on I mixed what I like, and I was like, no, can't have that.
That's it. Good answer. That's it. Salute. No, they were. That's what we got to deal with this. So anyway, Geechee, did you? Well, I did think it would. I don't know if you wanted to jump in, but I did think if you it would be a good a more appropriate way to start if you would just give us a summary, maybe say a little bit more than you just did about who you are and how you've arrived at the decision currently to run for governor. Yeah, just give us a quick background and update.
I'll be brief. So people that know my work before August of 2024, when I was asked to run as a vice presidential candidate alongside Jill Stein, will know that for a couple of decades, the thing that I've been most known for is my teaching and organizing and activist work, especially in the Black community, the Muslim community, but especially in the Black Muslim community. I taught for 10 years at the University of Michigan. The Black Muslim community in Detroit was basically my home for a 10-year period. And so getting pulled out of kind of, the academic and community work that I was doing to enter electoral politics was as abrupt a change for me, as could have possibly been imagined, because you can run literally 1,000 hours of YouTube video of me teaching in various venues, online. You'll never hear me talking about running for office. I had an Instagram live where I interviewed Dr. Jill Stein about her platform, and I had been pushed to do so by a lot of my colleagues in the Palestinian liberation movement who were saying that this was the candidate that they were backing. Okay. And so I hosted Jill on my social media platform, and I asked her a question. The first question I asked her is, where do you stand on reparations? And she said, they behave as though it's incalculable, but it's been calculated many times. It's between 10 and 14 trillion dollars that's owed to the Black community in the United States of America, and I'm in favor of cash payments. And I was like, okay, so that piqued my attention. The next question that I asked was, I said, I know where you stand with respect to Palestinian liberation. What's your overall vision for American foreign policy? She said, my vision for American foreign policy is to dismantle the American empire. And I said, yeah, and you better hurry up and do it quick before somebody do it for you, because those two things look very different. If you voluntarily divest from 800 military bases around the globe, tormenting humanity, and instead reinvest all of those squandered resources in, community growth, economic growth here, then you might actually be able to save the republic as the empire falls. So I had this IG live with Jill, an hour, 20 minutes. 24 hours later, they asked me if I would consider running as VP.
That's interesting. I have a question.
Go ahead, come on.
Do you feel like the revolutionary answer to like liberation is running for a high political office?
The revolutionary answer by itself, definitely not. I mean, that's the reason why the thing that I've been doing, most of what I've been doing has been, education, organizing. I believe in the model that the Panthers laid down. The model that the Panthers laid, I mean, that they're my most important political inspiration when it comes to how I think through politics. But the Panthers ran for office. So, and I had to reassess this, because I had never really considered electoral politics as the route to express, my liberation aspirations or my community building aspirations. However, Malcolm was the person that brought me into Islam. I converted when I was 15 years old after reading his autobiography. And when I was presented with this opportunity to run for office, I had to go back and look at what Malcolm was saying in The Ballad or the Bullet in 1964. And I had to go back to him saying, we're going to knock on every door in Harlem, and we are going to get every single person in this community registered, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, but as an independent. And he said, if they don't have the responsibility to register, then we're going to have some strong words for them. We're going to run them out of town. He was saying that electoral political organizing was a crucial element of leveraging Black power. Kwame Ture said the same thing. He said that voting every 4 years is the most bourgeois nonsense that you can imagine. He said, but I know that the vote is a tool for organizing my people. Huey P. Newton ran for Congress not once, but twice. So when I started to reflect on the moment that we're in and the way that the Democrat establishment has absolutely sapped any capacity for independent Black power, and I realized that the Green Party, the third largest political party in the United States, was, and I told them this, I said, y'all need to run tape on me if you're going to make me this kind of offer, because I'm not going to change. I'm going to be 100% a Black Muslim revolutionary. And they say, we know, that's why we want you on the ticket. Well, if they're willing to open up, the door to Black radical politics at the top of the third largest political party in the United States of America, then it presented an opportunity for us. And it presented an opportunity for our community to utilize the Green Party as a new kind of tool in electoral politics. So that's why I accepted. And that's why I'm using the electoral political sphere the way that Malcolm envisioned, the way that Kwame Ture envisioned, as a tool to try to build political power.
Yeah. Peace, Butch. Good to see you, brother.
Peace, y'all. Good to see you as well.
Yeah. So the kind of to that point, I think sometimes people struggle with understanding that there's a revolutionary way to use universal suffrage or electoral politics, and all the revolutions that we claim to study, they all had a clear idea of that. So two things, we had a conversation after you got off with Breakfast Club, and we kind of saw the optics of the objective, and one of the sisters even say you the brothers supporting the other.
I remember that. Yeah.
But I'm curious, I'm curious if you've seen, or how have you seen the Green Party interact with us, us? And because I know that there's, some struggle around, could this be a party that we can even engage in entryism in, or could we build power with this? And is it now legitimized being in the space, like, being on the Breakfast Club interview? So I'm just curious about how you've seen the utility of a Green Party for us.
So the first thing that I said to the Green Party National Steering Committee after the election was over, when they invited me to come to speak to them, was that the Green Party, out of all of the kind of political parties with national political scope, has the best Black liberation platform, but it's not a Black People's Party. It's not a Black.
But I did hear they got a Black caucus.
There is, and the Black Caucus is dope with actual like Pan-Africanists and revolutionary thinkers in it. But what I meant when I said that was that the Green Party has not done the work on the ground in community building relationship and helping communities build power. And so my critique of the Green Party was that the Green Party has not earned our community's trust. And that's part of the reason why, like, I'm running, in the state of California and building, organizational strength, block by block, community by community, with the organizers that are doing the work on the ground. Because I think that we have the best platform, but let's just be clear, this has been a party that's been dominated by aging white leftists for a long time. And what has happened, since 2020, the Floyd uprisings were the beginning of this, but the Free Palestine movement that has emerged since the current genocide in Gaza has really radically shifted the demographics of who is supporting the Green Party. Who's supporting the Green Party is now majority minority by a lot. Right. So one thing that people don't understand, for example, is that in the 2024 presidential election cycle, 53% of American Muslims voted for the Green Party. 53%. Only 20% voted Democrat, 20% voted Republican. The rest were split among other independent parties, which, if you think about the Muslim community essentially voting 2/3 Democrat since the 1960s, that is a dramatic shift. The Muslims got, and the single largest ethnic contingent in the American Muslim community is still Black Muslims. Black Muslims are the largest ethnic group in the American Muslim community. So all of that is just to say there is a massive demographic shift underway, and you have like some of the like young Black liberation soldiers like Alfonso DeShiel in Philadelphia, Davon Love in Baltimore. I could name people around the country that are seeing the Green Party as the route forward for political organizing and community, for precisely the reasons that Malcolm cited. Right now, what Malcolm say? Malcolm said the white liberal is a fox that bears its teeth. You think it's smiling at you, but you on the menu. The white conservative is a wolf. When it bears its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the Negro with no illusion as to where he stands. We've got two political parties, one run by liberal foxes, the other by conservative wolves. And we need to be building political power off of the duopoly plantation. So the Green Party is giving us, by putting me in this position, they've essentially handed us the keys to the third largest political party in the United States of America. And my argument is that if you are about a liberation agenda that is rooted in revolutionary Pan-Africanism, this is the most damaging tool that we can wield at this point in time to the power structure.
I have a follow-up question, but I just want you to know, in the chat they said they'd be calling you Pretty Ricky in politics, or DeBarge's cousin. And I could see them both.
Well, so that goes back to one of my favorite lines. Back when I was still doing most of my work in the African and diaspora Muslim community. Somebody called me the Al B. Shore of Sufism, which I thought was
I could see that. You could be Al B. Shore's brother.
Which was a next level comment. I have to admit. So yeah.
We got I'll be sure and Christopher
But
Williams
my
on the
follow-up
set right now.
question is the reason why I asked the first part about running for like a larger office. I think that I have a huge contradiction with running for like president or governor versus running for like local offices within like people who are very revolutionary politics, similar to, like folks on the platform. And so I wanted to ask, do you feel like you would make more of an impact in a smaller local office, like a local city council, county commission, or like state rep type position versus governor or president?
Okay, so I'm going to address this in a particular way. So pardon me if I don't quite capture the spirit of the question, but I wanted to turn it slightly. So part of the reason why the Green Party runs at the presidential level and has been consistent in running at the presidential level, and sometimes get criticized, people say only show up every 4 years, which is not true, of course. It's just the media only covers the Green Party every 4 years. But the reason why it's been a priority inside the party is because by running at a national level, it ensures ballot access down the ticket in a bunch of states automatically. So the reason for running at the presidential level has historically been in the Green Party is precisely to assure access to those down ballot positions. And it's been over 1,500 elected Greens over the past couple of decades. There's 150 plus elected Greens serving in different parts of the country right now. California has more elected Greens historically and currently than any other state. So that's number one. Just like I want people to understand that it's not for show. It's not,
So I actually don't think that. That's not where my question is coming
right,
from.
No, I know. So
Too.
I just wanted to frame that because I know you don't have that in your head, but I think a lot of people that are watching might. So governor. The reason why I'm running for governor is that I wanted to be able to build statewide political power and to build the infrastructure that was going to be necessary to be more competitive in 2028 and 2032. Running for local elected office, there have been Greens that have been successful. Mike Feinstein was mayor of Santa Monica for a long time. A lot of people don't know that a Green candidate, Matt Gonzalez in San Francisco, almost ended Lil Gavin Newsom's career before it started because in 2003, a Green Party mayoral candidate got 47% of the vote. Gavin got 53. So they almost ended him before he started. So we know Greens can win at local, and smaller scale elections. I wanted to try to build that strength in the gubernatorial campaign. And there's a bunch of tactical and strategic reasons why I think that they're very vulnerable in this particular governor's race. And if you can use California as the tip of a revolutionary political spear, then it's going to cause a lot more damage to the duopoly nationally. So I wanted to make sure that we were building from the ground up, but also staying in the national conversation at the same time.
I do think that they're very vulnerable right now. That's something we've been talking about in a separate Black Caucus chat, different Black Caucus, but talking about how like there really aren't any candidates running in California other than like the folks who already had announced that people aren't really excited about. And I do think that's an opportunity there. I also want to know, are you running on a slate with other local people, or is just you running for governor there?
No, we got a squad. We got team. Not just inside the Green Party, but also with other, candidates, and not just in the state of California. I don't know if you're aware of Shama Sawant, who was a city councilwoman in Seattle for a long time. I'm running on a progressive platform with Workers Strike Back. We've, our campaigns are, working together, to help amplify messaging. I alluded to the meeting that I had with the Green Party National Steering Committee after the election. I talked about, how it hasn't been a Black People's Party. One of the biggest things that I said is that they need to welcome the demographic change that's coming. They need to start playing to win instead of just to stay on the field. And a crucial part of that was building out rosters of candidates that you, and the way that I said it then is that, Michael Jordan was not winning any championships until Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant came on board. You can have, excellent candidates at the top of the ticket, but unless you're building a roster, you're not winning anything. So that's one of the biggest things why I started my campaign early, is to identify candidates for state legislature. And we've got people that are now stepping up and running for state legislature, because we expect to contest for power in a serious way. And if we do, I'm going to need some friends in the legislature, because there's going to be a lot of liberal wolves, or sorry, liberal foxes. What's the smile in your face? All the while they're trying to take your place. Backstabbers.
Is
Backstabbers.
there a place where people can see like the other folks who are running, like on the slate? Or
Yeah. So one thing that I would encourage folks to do is to go to butchwareforgov.com. You can see, like platform, all our media appearances, upcoming events, all of those things, and the kind of vision behind the campaign. To connect it with something that you asked before, Amber, is that so one thing that I think is different about this particular campaign is that we are viewing mutual aid, direct action, and electoral politics as a unit, right? That the goal is to make the political party organizing a tool for channeling people's efforts from mobilization around issues into organization against systems. Like the great revolutionary Kwame Ture, taught us. And he didn't say it in exactly these words, but this is the way that I synthesize it, is that revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. And we have a lot of activity right now, people mobilizing against the carceral state, both in the Black Lives Matter type sense and the abolish ICE type sense. We have a lot of people mobilizing for Palestinian liberation and broader anti-imperialist divestment, but those are siloed mobilizations rather than organization for political power. So what I'm trying to do through the campaign is essentially present the people with this campaign and this party as the tool for bringing together a bunch of closely connected liberation movements and turning those into an instrument to contest for power. Because that's what Malcolm was talking about. That's why they played the electoral politics game, is that it can be a very, very useful tool for contested power.
It's a very powerful tool. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that y'all are doing like the slate thing and like looking at other candidates down ballot. A lot of folks in the chat said they didn't know that, like, when you run someone for president in the Green Party, you also get ballot access down ballot. So I think it's important that you talked about that. I also have like seen the power of running slates, like what the Working Families Party did in New York and all the different mayoral races they were able to win. So I do think when we like are putting together like strategic campaigns like that and running folks down ballot and at the top of the ticket, you're more likely to get a lot more wins.
100%. Yeah, I know. I couldn't agree more. I don't have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
I am pretty perfect. I agree.
So no, I didn't have nothing in particular yet, or in this moment. I just wanted to. Folks are asking about it. The link to the Ware for Governor website is in the show description now. Dropped in the chat a couple times. People can review it and see what's going on. Donate if they would like. See some of the collaborators and allies as you describe them.
Yeah. We got a team, man.
Brianna Joy Gray on there.
Brianna Joy Gray, Chris Hedges, Saul Williams. All right, salute.
Keep going down. See my homie down there.
Who?
Khalid.
Yeah,
Khalid Alexander. Yep.
That's the brother. I mean, you talk about people that are doing the work on the ground. Like he's been doing it in San Diego, for a good long time. I mean, that's the model. And maybe I can say something about that, is just to elaborate on that previous point. The corporate parties show up to communities and say, this is a thing that's of concern for your community. This is my platform. Vote for me, which for me is a colonialist, instrumentalist appropriation of the people's organizing energy. If you're thinking about a political party as a tool to contest power and as a way of galvanizing the people's energy, then the approach is actually the opposite. You put the political party organizing in service of the people that are doing the work on the ground. So you show up in service to amplify and to connect the people that are already doing the work, rather than to appropriate the people's power for electoral politics. And so that's the vision behind the campaign. That's why the first thing that we're doing is always connecting with the people that are doing rapid response, the people that are doing ICE Watch, the people that are doing poverty alleviation, that are feeding the unhoused. That's where we're connecting. And my wife said this on the way to an event. She said your superpower is that you can convince people that would never vote to vote, because you don't believe in it any more than they do, right? You believe in it as a tool that can help us accomplish more important and more significant things. And the last thing I'll say about that mutual aid and direct action component is the reason why we contest for electoral political power is that most of our mutual aid and direct action right now is focused on meeting people's basic needs, precisely because our elected officials refuse to do so. But if we put people in power that are actually fulfilling basic needs, then our mutual aid and direct action can go towards fulfilling the human potential that is in our communities, right? To actually bring in people to flourish rather than just meeting basic needs. So even if just your political authorities are people who they're, let's say they're not even channeling resources to the people, but they're just desisting from harm, right? Then that creates an entirely different environment for mutual aid and direct action to be effective. So that's why you contest for political power. And to what Dr. Jared said, listen, they would not have been like, if the vote wasn't dangerous, if suffrage wasn't dangerous, they would not have killed off all them white boys in the Civil War trying to keep us from getting that vote.
Wait a minute, you said who said that?
You didn't say that. I'm saying you.
Okay.
You,
I just want to be because I didn't say that.
You didn't say that. You and Geechee both alluded to suffrage and to electoral politics. I'm saying what my position on why it's worthwhile to engage is that if they think that it's dangerous, then trust that it is. Right? That they a big part of the disenfranchisement efforts, the way that Reconstruction unfolded was precisely because white supremacy perceives a weak point in its electoral politics if the oppressed are able to organize. And I would even go further in this current moment to say that with this late stage capitalism, with a complete and total seizure of the media environment, the social media environment, and full ownership of both major political parties, that independent political organizing is actually one of the few structural weaknesses left in the system. We still have these pesky things called elections, and they can still lose them, right? And despite all of their efforts, they can't always buy them. So this is one of the places where we can still, where the people still have a voice and the people still have power.
I just want to ask a quick question from the chat, Jerry, before you go. Someone asked, can you define what the collaborator and ally is from the website that we were showing?
Oh, the collaborators and allies, these are people that have done work with us on the campaign, that have participated in media amplification, that have worked on events with us. So for example, our good brother, Saul Williams, I organized a conference called the End of Empire and the Future of Freedom. Saul gave, a keynote. We're in regular, contact over, Signal. He was one of my heroes before, before we got connected through electoral politics. Brianna Joy Gray, Chris Hedges have both been, on the record as, voting Green Party, before I ever, got onto the ticket, they've been, interlocutors, people that have helped me, formulate the political vision, the political strategy. These are folks that are, down for the cause, and that we're in community and conversation with about how we build out the Green Party as what it needs to be. Because what we need right now is a real opposition party. We ain't got one. And what I'm trying to do is to develop the Green Party into that actual opposition party by operationalizing the political models of the Black radical tradition, especially the organizing principles of the Panthers, and extending them on a national scale.
So again, folks, the link to his website is in the show description. And if you're not joining us live right now and didn't see it in the chat, you can get it there. I did just quickly, I just want to, my primary interest in electoral politics is really that if anything is ever going to be done, we have to be able to have some level of principled and clear unity on something as easy as elections. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's really the number one, if not only reason why I've ever wanted to engage elections at all, is that if we can't even get on the same page with this, how are we really going to do any of these other things that need to happen? And then also, to your point, I'm inspired by what Malcolm actually said about elections and how we should engage, and then what he also was looking to build in beyond just electoral politics. So, but I did want to ask if we could just, like, I'm supporting Andy Ellis, who's running for the governor running for the governor's office here in Maryland on the green ticket, and am interested in his approach here. Could you talk a little bit specifically about your approach there in California to attracting votes? Talk a little bit about your platform and what maybe you're seeing happening nationally in other gubernatorial races, or what specifically you're doing there in California to get folks on board.
Yeah. I mean, so the first thing I'll say is that I'm also riding hard for Andy. So I was invited, as you might imagine, to serve in a bunch of different capacities inside the Green Party, aside from just running for office, which was my choice. I turned down every committee assignment that they offered, except for the one that Andy offered, which is for the Coordinated Campaign Committee, which he's one of the co-chairs of. And it's for the reasons that we've been discussing, is that that's where you can do some team building. So Andy is not just somebody that's running for office in Maryland and on a reparations platform, is being critical of Wes Moore's, kind of delay and obfuscation tactics around reparations, but he's also somebody that's interested in building team, out. So that's the first thing. With respect to the strategic approach in the state of California, it's pretty straightforward, and if people understood how clean a shot we have at the Democrats' chin in this particular election, then they would be getting behind what we're trying to do. So what they've done in the state of California is what the duopoly, and duopoly, one of these technical terms, it's when a duo holds a monopoly on power. Maybe the best way in this environment to explain how teams red and blue do things is to quote a great Pan-Africanist, Julius Nyerere, first president of Tanzania, who said, "Of course the United States is a single party state, but with classic American extravagance, they have two of them." Right. So he perceived and understood that Team Blue and Team Red are just two wings of the same bird. So we have a clean shot at their chin. They've tried to rig things in California so that it's always a Democrat versus a Republican by having this jungle primary where only the top two candidates advance. And that primary takes place on June 2nd of 2026. But in a state like California, which leans progressive, leans liberal, and sometimes even leans hard left, we actually have more registered independents than we have registered Republicans. So this strategy can backfire, see? And all you have to do is to get to second in that primary, and then it will be me against whatever Democrat candidate emerges. And they will no longer be able to subject us to a complete and total media blackout, which has been their strategy up to this point, because they lose on messaging. And anytime they get involved in a messaging conversation, the Green Party platform is actually delivering on universal health care, is delivering on housing first, it's delivering on all of the things that the liberals say that they want, but that they never deliver. Like, we are 10 toes down for all those things. So to get to that second place position, 2022, the second place finisher in the primary got 17.7% of the vote. That's all it took. And they're hiding the primary in June when most people don't vote. So it was only 5.5 million people voted in a state that has a population of 39 million. Well, that means that 1.3 million votes, 1.5 million votes maybe in June of 2026 will get me onto the debate stage in a one-on-one against a Democrat for 6 months between June and November. And that's the end of the duopoly, because they will never be able to hold up against the kind of smoke that I'm going to be bringing to them. So all we have to do is get communities mobilized to turn out for that June 2nd primary and to get to 18%, 20%, so that we can create that one-on-one showdown. That one-on-one showdown is not going to favor the Democrats. They're not going to be able to hold up against me on a debate stage, I promise.
So you
Oh,
made,
my bad. Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. I didn't see that. And yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
so you made a point that well, kind of talked a little bit about mutual aid, and I've been having conversations in our Atlanta chapter, just but also nationally around programs, which normally start out as program, and some would argue that it looks like charity and it has to be developed into a mutual aid where it's pulling people into the struggle. But even funded organizations who are, you know, paying for things or buying people things or meeting people needs, the policy struggle will be larger. So I'm curious how you kind of explain how policy interacts with the programs that we have that we call mutual aid, and maybe even some plans on how to engage policy to do such.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I'll zoom out just because I'm a historian and I always think about context first. Right now, all charitable interventions are rooted in a bourgeois sensibility and in neoliberal economic structures. And what do I mean when I say that? In the last 5 years in the state of California has spent, get this number, $25 billion of California's taxpayer dollars to alleviate homelessness in the state of California. 25 billion would it be? And in those 5 years, the number of people sleeping on the streets has gone from 120,000 average per night at the beginning of that period to 180,000 average per night. With this massive poverty industrial complex, these charities taking up all of those resources, because the way that the Democrat establishment has used this funding is essentially as handouts to developers, handouts to NGOs that will write themselves sometimes $600,000, $700,000 a year salaries for their directors. And then at the end of a 3-year program where they got $10 million, they might have 17, units that are that people can sleep in. The whole thing is a massive grift. It's a massive scam. It's a massive hustle. If you took the same 25 billion and put it into universal basic income for people that are sleeping on the street, you could pay every single person, every man, woman, and child that is sleeping on the street $25,000 a year annually, and it would come back at less than the 25 billion that the state has been paying. So that takes us to the heart of the question, is that the policy has been oriented not to actually alleviate poverty, but rather to pimp poverty, which is what the Democrats have been doing to Black communities and impoverished communities for 60 years. What Iceberg Slim said: if they wake up one morning with some money in their pocket, they subject to go crazy. When I get up, I gotta. And they got us exactly where they want us, in a position of dependency. And that's what charity as a model and neoliberal poverty pimping has done to our community. Mutual aid, on the other hand, is not a handout or a hand down. Listen, I lived in Senegal for years. I speak the Wolof language fluently. A lot of my early organizing work was in West Africa. In Senegal, they say, Teyo Subaman, which means today you, tomorrow me. right? That what it's rooted in is a sensibility that I'm gonna keep you up when you're weak, and you're gonna do the same for me. I learned this lesson. I was in Senegal for the first time in '96. I was walking home from the basketball court with a friend of mine, and I had a bag and he didn't. Halfway on the trip, he took the bag from me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "We're halfway there. I'll carry your bag the rest of the way." I'm like, "It's my bag." And he said, "Teyo Superman. Today you, tomorrow me." Right? That's what mutual aid is. And if we have people in elected office, I never say politicians, because I'm not a politician. I've been a public servant my whole life, and I don't believe the Green Party has politicians. I believe the Green Party has public servants, people that are interested in serving the public. A public servant should be thinking about how to create policy structures that facilitate that mutual aid, that enhance community efforts, rather than always creating the problem that community efforts have to then solve.
Looking for the drop.
Now listen.
You were really struggling to find that.
I'm struggling with the platform lately. There's something going on with me in StreamYard lately. So, but yeah.
The greatest Funk Master Flex intervention was after Black Thought's legendary. I mean, so if anybody wants to make an argument for anybody other than Black Thought as the greatest freestyle ever, we're gonna have to have words. Because that 9 minutes that he did on Funk Flex is still, to me, the greatest. But yeah, Flex came in at the end and he was like, "Y'all cornball niggas coming up in here doing 50 takes. That's how it's done." Right? And Thought did that, without patient over 9+ minutes.
They in the chat saying you the Black Thought of politics, but I know you said you're not a politician, so.
I mean, I can do a lot of that Black Thought freestyle, off the dome. But I've been having visions of Nat Turner holding his master's head like Eurydice and Horatio and Hamlet, smacking it like a tennis racket underhanded, right? I mean, he killed that whole joint. People don't know off the top what he's talking about. He's talking about the Dallas sniper. "I'm sorry for your loss. It's a body dead in the car, and it's probably one of yours." Writing all across the windows and the walls, said whether it was true or false, you shouldn't have got involved. I mean, that's what he was talking about there. He starts out talking about shooting back at the cops. He starts talking about, talking about police brutality like that. I teach that in my hip hop history class. And I have my students write an essay in response to Black Thought's freestyle on Funk Flex, because he does everything that an MC is supposed to do in those 9+ minutes.
Just makes it even worse to see him, have to suffer up there on that Jimmy Fallon stage. That's just more the reason why it disturbs me to see that they do that. But because I don't know if I could disagree with you on that. I have to think about if that's the best freestyle, but it's up there.
He addressed it in the freestyle. He said, my homies told me to come with him to the masjid. They said, "Don't go from, you gonna go from, man, how do you say it? Some bars filled with rage to primetime television in your gilded cage, and forget that it's people in the world still enslaved. I barbed wire my wrist and let it fill the page." So, I mean, he appreciates the tension. I don't know if the tension is resolved, but he appreciates the tension.
Oh, I know he's not. I mean, they have to. All of them. I'm convinced they're not. Yeah, they're clear. They're very much. I'm not surprised that blame Questlove. I'm with that too. I'm with that too.
I blame Questlove for everything.
I'm crying.
Everything.
Yeah.
Black Thought came to Memphis a few years ago though, and he's great in like live performing, and I was so glad Questlove wasn't there.
Oh, I'm not gonna front, Dr. Ware. I don't know if you are aware that I am also, a former drummer and a drummer of what is the greatest funk band in Western Maryland between 1997 and 1999, aka Mama's Biscuits. And so I have an affinity for the drummer. And
we
there
tried.
it is. Thank you.
We tried Zenzi.
Nah, you know it wasn't going to happen. You know.
Wait, slow down.
Well.
Actually, it's about this time. So Dr. Ware is from the DMV area.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
hold on. I'm from the DMV before there was such a thing as a DMV. I never heard. Listen, DC was DC. Maryland was like, part of the universe. Virginia, never heard of it. Now, I mean, coming up in the 70s and 80s, early 90s in DC, there was no DMV. I just got to set the record straight. Like, I'm old school like that, but go ahead. Yeah.
No, but we need something else if you never heard of. Have you heard of Mama's Biscuits? If not, Jared he gonna have to sit down until he bring his band on and actually.
Questlove don't want that smoke.
I'll tell you this. If we'll set it up. You bring the band and I'll spit over it. Like I will rap. So and while we're on it, like check out our last album. It came out the day before Jill invited me onto the campaign. Slum Prophecy. We called this one Aqsa Flood. So I produced the whole album with Arab instrumentation, and it's all revolutionary music. And my personal favorite, track is one we call Freedom or Death, because when I finished the beat, I literally was hearing Nas's opening bar, and then the verse just came out. Freedom or death clips inserted. Nation being born, same time another's murdered. There's a rumor and I heard it. Trying to find just how to word it. The truth has been inverted. The lies are so absurd it got you blinded in the mind. Cover my iris, eyes averted, but I cannot look away. Like the wreckage of a train, fallen empire in flames. From the ashes and remains of bros laid in shallow graves. Unmarked, those slain say a prayer for the unnamed. Soldiers, how they roll us and they fold us up on paper in their pockets because they sold us. Now they hold us up in cages. Same chattel principle. Soul by soul, flip through the pages. Fire rages from this pen, the ink of scholars, saints and sages, cock the gauges, white faces. We love it when they hate us. Stockholm syndrome. Got more empathy for racists than our own Africans dying in the Congo. No name, no home, go to Rome. Negro for vacation. We escape and still embarrassed of our nation. Niggas in Paris, perpetrating and faking. Ride the Ferris wheel in London. Why you fronting? Where you come from? Africa, them crackers laugh at you. Black and self-hating. Step back from the gate. We attacking, clapping and blazing. From Buckingham to the Hamptons. We stomping, slashing and raising. And this ain't rapping and capping. A revolution is raging from Gaza back to Kinshasa, El Fasher, birth of a nation.
Dr. Ball was eating that up.
That's Slum Prophecy, Freedom or Death. Yeah, it's still on Spotify until we pull our music off of Spotify, because that they taking them Spotify dividends and investing them in military technology now. So
I just want to read the comment because you should not be doing this, but since he said sigh of relief, I thought this was going to be another nod to Mama's Biscuits.
Leave his band alone, man. I mean,
they can
I'm not hating.
They can hate. They saw what it was. They saw what it was. They know what it is. It's all good. And
somebody in chat said, "Are you on SoundCloud?"
We're on Apple Music, all of the major streaming platforms, not SoundCloud. I mean, we got over a few million streams behind the music. There's been different tracks that have hit at different times. Our most popular one was a track called Sabor, which I produced basically in a kind of Latin pocket with respect to the music. It's that's like a kind of unity jam. That one did well because you can dance to it.
Period. Okay, so you said that you'll do a battle with Jared.
No,
it's called teamwork. It's a collab. It's not a battle.
Bring his band. He's gonna rap over the music.
No, the battle, the verses that Questlove doesn't want is the drum thing that somebody put in the chat. That's what I would say. That's what he doesn't want. But I actually, but in all honesty, I actually appreciate Questlove's drumming and have even, checked out some of his early, he did some jazz drum albums, stuff like that. Like he's not, I just don't appreciate the imposed selection of choices that led them to be on Jimmy Fallon. That's all. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. And you demonstrated and you pointed out one of the reasons why that they are,
actually, A-Rob, I like this. A-Rob said we need an Amber and Butch collab call from A to B. That's funny.
I mean, always down for a good collab. I will say, while we're talking about the music, the one of the greatest honors that I had was we did a track with Wise Intelligent from Poor Righteous Teachers. And the verse that he did, we did a track called More is Science, and his verse on that goes crazy. And then Akil the MC from Jurassic 5, another Black Muslim dude, friend for a long time. We've done a number of tracks together. I don't know if y'all remember BG Knockout used to rap with Eazy-E back in the day on Ruthless Records. He converted to Islam while he was serving time. And he's also done tracks with us. So, we got a whole little Muslim, kind of rap collective that's come through and blessed the tracks. So like I said, I'm always down for a collab so we can do from A to B.
I'm down to produce the collab. So Butch is gonna do the verses, Jared gonna pick the tracks, and I can definitely help produce the event.
I'll come out retirement and lay down the track.
Yeah.
The good boom back. Look at why you
I love it.
I'm very serious. We will be connecting on this. We're probably gonna do it in Maryland.
I'm gonna have to I will find another way to contribute and support.
I do kind of want to know how you got from DC to California though.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up, like I said, on the floor of my dad's and my granddad's locksmith shop. I moved to the south side of Minneapolis when I was young. I went to junior high and high school there, and I came back to DC for undergrad at GW. I was playing baseball. I was on a baseball scholarship at that time. And, long story short, I found out when I was in college that I was better at school than I was at baseball. I mean, the neighborhoods that I grew up in, you wouldn't have necessarily known you were good at school. I was blessed to be throwing a baseball 90 miles an hour when I was 17 years old. And so that opened the door for me, to get a full ride scholarship. And I found out I was better at school than baseball. So that eventually led to me studying African history. It was actually Sheikh Anta Diop's African Origin and Civilization, Myth and Reality that first brought me to really realizing that I wanted to study Africa. And that's what ultimately led me to go study in Senegal. So I went to Senegal in 1996, and I realized that I was finishing my undergrad at that time, that what I really wanted to do was I told you guys Malcolm was led me to Islam, but Malcolm also led me to African history. Malcolm has said, if a cat has kittens in an oven, that don't make them biscuits. And it sounds cryptic until you finish the bar. He said, you call yourself a Negro, show me Negro land on a map. Negro, you come from Africa, call yourself an African. And that always had me leaning towards Pan-Africanism as, my way of processing Blackness. So for me, that meant going to Africa. I lived in Senegal for years, did my PhD research there. When I came back, my first full-time teaching position was at Northwestern University, which was a top 5 African studies university. I taught there for 4 years. And
Chicago?
Then Michigan. In Chicago, yep. And then in Michigan offered me a job, recruiting me away from Northwestern. So I went and taught there for 10 years. I came out here to Cali actually to just give a lecture at a medieval studies conference at UCSB. I didn't know there was a UC Santa Barbara. And I seen this campus and I was like, damn, what have I done with my life? I know
that you see Santa Barbara because I watch Psych, and it's very popular.
And the thing is, we got 4 beaches on campus, and I was like, I see why Oprah came out here. I'm not letting these white folks have this to themselves. And so they offered me, a position, created the position for me. So I've been out here for 7 years, and I don't have don't get me wrong, I still miss DC, but the DC that I remember doesn't exist anymore.
I hear so many people who are from DC say that. One of my friends is working he's from DC, he's been working on statehood stuff his whole life, and he talks about how there's this whole transition over time where DC doesn't even feel like how it used to feel.
Well, and when my father, so my grandfather had come from Georgia to DC when my father was in 6th grade. When my grandfather, passed, most of the family went back to Atlanta. So most of my family is on my dad's side is in Georgia. My dad and a few people were the only people that remained in DC. When he passed away, going back to DC wasn't the same, either. So I feel like, I'm home now. I'm home out here in Cali, and and fighting for it. And Geechee mentioned our good brother Khalid down in San Diego. I mean, I will say that before I ever got dragged into the electoral politics stuff, like organizing with them at Pillars of the Community in San Diego, Lighthouse Mosque in Oakland, Isla on Crenshaw and Slauson in LA, like that's been my community, that's been my organizing base. So I've been like, they become my folks since I came out here. And Santa Barbara, puts me in a good position to get to a lot of, our communities around the state. Centrally located.
I think it's important that you build community wherever you move to. I know that people really they try to make it a big deal when someone runs for something where they're from, like if you're not from here. But I also think if someone puts in the time to live somewhere and build community, I think that should be valued too. But I also feel like we don't value lived experience like we should. So it's whatever. We will be actually doing this event that you pitched though. I know that Monty said in the chat, y'all shouldn't give me ideas because we're going to execute. We are actually putting a plan together for the event, Jerry. You cannot back out.
Let's get it.
You have no choice.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Listen, good people. We do. Well, unfortunately, I gotta go. I gotta
be somewhere.
I do. It's this parenting thing, and then I gotta get this sty drained. You don't want to hear about all that. It's just
there's a sty on your face. We can't even see it.
I know because I hold my head like this and I squint.
Oh my God.
And it's been here for like a month and change. So I gotta cave in. I gotta face my fears. And
I do have one quick announcement before we go.
Please I was gonna make sure everybody got all the announcements, and we're not gonna end on me talking about my sty. We're gonna end this properly. But please, yes, make all the announcements.
Since we're talking about music, the album Gravitas by Common Hymnal came out today. I'm singing on 4 of the songs. I did background vocals on Not Gonna Worry, and then chorus and background vocals on 3 other songs. So if y'all are into Black liberationist centered, more so Christian, not as much gospel, but very much a mixture between rap, hymnals, and other stuff, you should check it out. It's called Gravitas. By Common Hymnal, and I'm really excited about it because I never talk about other stuff that I do, so I'm trying to be better about talking about the different things that I do. And for folks who are finding out in real time, yes, I can sing.
Let them know. Geechee, anything you want to let us know about before we get out of here? Give Dr. Ware the last word.
No, thank you, Dr. Ware, for coming through. I was trying to find a really quick example. So our sister Faith Evans, not the Biggie Faith Evans, but the artist Faith Evans, is the illustrator of one of my books, and this is the upcoming children's book. If anybody know this face, look familiar. This is obviously a Sappho, Harry Haywood, and Thomas and Carr, all ancestors. Yeah, but so that one's coming out soon, and we're trying to find some independent.
We can see it, Jared.
You can't see that?
Yeah. Faith is skillful with that pen.
She hard.
She do her thing. So yeah.
Salute.
That's
so
beautiful.
Yeah. Go ahead. You could take us home, brother.
I mean, what would I say with limited time in this audience? I think. Those of us that are lifelong students and teachers and exponents of the Black radical tradition need to take a long, hard look at the current political moment that we're in. We have an opportunity before us that is in many ways unprecedented. They were crazy enough to essentially give me the keys to the 3rd largest political party in the United States of America. Dr. Jill Stein is 75 years old. She ran this last time around for president because Cornel West backed out a ticket. She didn't have any intentions to run. So we have a chance to put our imprint on a party that has stood for reparations since 2006. That's been on Palestinian liberation for a couple of decades. All of the pieces of the platform that we need that are truly revolutionary are present. I will not say that the Green Party doesn't have a white supremacy problem, because every single institution in the United States of America has a white supremacy problem. But if we, stage the kind of takeover that we've been doing here in California, that the brothers that I mentioned in Philly and Baltimore and a few other places, have been undertaken, then we have actually an opportunity to mold this into an instrument that we can utilize for collective liberation. So if you're interested in that program, like, get with me. And you don't have to be based in California to be invested in the outcome of like a whole ass Black Muslim revolutionary actually getting elected. Half of our volunteers come from outside the state of California, because there's a lot of stuff that you can contribute to the campaign remotely. Even if you broke, you can contribute time. So check out the platform. And if you want to engage with me on social media, I be in the comments section on Instagram. I don't manage the other two accounts, the Twitter and the TikTok, but you can always reach me via DM and go to butchwareforgov.com for more on the campaign.
Link is in the show description.
Don't tell them that part, Dr. Butch.
Say again?
I said, not you said you don't manage the pages. Don't tell them that part.
I mean, I just want them to know that if they start yelling at me and stuff, they're not going to get a rise out of me on Twitter or TikTok, because I don't be reading those pages. Whereas Instagram, I'm actually like I'll be in the comment section. And, if people want to say something crazy in the comment section, I am not above coming down there and talking to y'all, even though, we were all told back home, if you get to tussling on the ground with a fool, people won't be able to tell between the two of you. Sometimes, man, people be dragging you into the comment section, and you just got to get on the ground and and swing with them. So if you want to see me when I'm not at my best, say something crazy in the comment section on IG, and you just might get a rise out of me.
There it is. And if you're interested in Dr. Ware's scholarship on Africa and Islam, you can check us out on Tuesday next week. Stay tuned for that, and we're going to get into
it an
some
interview?
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, we're gonna talk specifically just about his scholarship, and let folks come back to the Remix Morning Show if they wanted to learn more about his campaign, and of course, again, get the link in the show description. And tomorrow, of course, everybody, we have Jamie Tyberg and Musa Springer joining us on Saturdays with Renee to talk about the solidarity and international solidarity between Africa and Korea, and then of course, I believe Darker Than Blue is this evening. Make sure the bell is rung. Just make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss everything. And then Sundays with the Ear Doctor.
Those Sundays mixes have been really good. I played the one he did last Sunday in our Black August class, and when we were entering in and stuff, and they really liked it.
No, his mixes, Ear Doctor is vicious. I love the mixes, the show. So folks should definitely
make sure. He said Happy Black August. I said, Lord, we gotta work on him.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I actually forgot to mention Revolutionary Learning Community. If you go to my link tree, I'm doing a live there every night during Black August. Fast train study fight. So that's the other piece. I should have mentioned that.
Y'all should go to his classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because Monday, Wednesday, Friday are coming to my classes. So,
and there it is. All right, everybody. Peace is always only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. We'll thank our guest, and thanks to Lorik for joining us earlier in the show. Thank you, Dr. Ware, and to the undefeated chat. Peace is always to you as well, because we know you fighting for everything all the time. So, and we'll see you next week with another great week right here on Black Liberation Media of
Remix. 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 Remix.